Welcome back to Finance for Firefighters. Today we're going to talk about MERP and leave conversion strategies. So in retirement, a lot of folks look forward to having a huge paycheck they're going to get as a result of sick leave or vacation that you saved up over your entire 30-year career that you want to be able to cash out. Now, you may want to rethink what you're going to do with that money, right? When you have tens of thousands of dollars that you're looking forward to having coming straight to you, that part's fantastic and the prospect of that's fantastic. But there are some tax implications to having that money come to you, right? If you're expecting a check of $50,000 because that's what your sick leave or whatever is vacation is going to be equated to, you're not actually going to get that check. You're going to get a check for about $20,000, $25,000. You're going to get about half of it taken away from the government just through taxes. Now, there is an alternative to this. You can actually take all of that leave and convert it over to ASUs, and you pay no taxes on it. So even though the prospect of having a huge chunk of tens of thousands of dollars sounds great in retirement, you are going to have other expenses associated with retirement. You retire at the age of 50, 53, 55, whatever that is, you still have at least 10 years before Medicare kicks in, and your insurance premiums are expensive, and every year they're going to raise by about 10%. So using the leave conversion strategies for this and increasing the amount of money that you can get through your lifetime benefit through MERP may be in your best interest to completely avoid those taxes. All right, so we have different leave balances that we can cash out in retirement, and you have different options for this. So we're going to go through the three main ones that we use through our local to be able to cash out and really look at the actual implications of what you can do with that. All right, so the first one is sick leave. Now, sick leave, the way we have it in our MOU, you can actually use this for service credit. So assuming that you have less than 30 years of service and you can use some of the service credit to max out your pension or get you an additional 3% or depending on your pension system, what that counts for you, about 2,000 hours of sick leave equates to about a year of service credit. So the value of taking 2,000 hours and getting service credit through CalPERS determine what that is on your monthly benefit and what you're actually going to get after taxes on that. The numbers I've run on this for the most part are that money is going to be the best bang for your buck, taking that sick leave and converting it over to actual service time, right? So that may be your first default in it. But you can also use that sick leave and convert that to MERP service credit. Not MERP service credit, but you can take that cash equivalent, convert it over there, and then earn more ASUs or even switch it into your individual account through MERP. So that is another option. For us, sick leave is not paid out dollar for dollar like it is if you use it to increase your years of service. So if you have 2,000 hours of sick leave and let's say that ends up being $100,000, that amount of money will earn you an additional 3% through PERS if you're classic. It works functionally the same way, so it's the best bang for your buck. Now, the additional 3% that you're getting every year as a result of that, you are paying taxes on that as income tax, but it is the most value for you. If we get paid out our sick leave either through into our deferred comp, which is one option, or into MERP, which is another option, we're paid out at a different rate than that. And this is part of the city just reducing costs. So for us, it ends up being 0.1% times years of service to a max of 30. So if you have for every dollar of sick leave that you have, you're going to be getting paid out at, the maximum you can get is about 30 cents on the dollar if you have 30 years of service. If you have less than 30 years of service, so you have 25 years of service, well, then it's going to be 0.25 for every dollar, right? So if you had $100,000 you thought you were going to be coming through, and you're going to be cashing that out in a check, either to your deferred comp or in a physical check itself, you're actually only getting about $25,000 of it. Same thing applies here for MERP. Our two options are taking that amount of sick leave and putting it into service credit for your pension. Option number two is taking that amount of sick leave and putting it in your 457, depending on your contribution limits. And then option number three is taking that sick leave and converting it over to and taking that cash equivalent of it and moving it over to MERP to purchase either ASUs through it or into the individual account. Option number two for us is vacation leave. We have large vacation balances depending on how you keep your vacation bank up there. You can use that money and have that either put into your deferred comp, again, based on your contribution limits, or you can have that money cashed out and put into your MERP, for your pool trust or your individual side. This doesn't apply to me because I'm not management, but for our battalion chiefs or deputy chiefs that are involved in MERP, they can cash out their management leave and use this in the same way. It can either go towards their 457 or it can go towards their MERP to bump those numbers up. Important note to make is we have comp time through my department, and because we get paid overtime as a result of the comp time, we can't use that amount of money through our comp time to be able to transfer it over to MERP. It's an IRS rule. They don't allow us to do it. So comp time cannot be used for MERP. You can still insulate the tax portion of the comp time if you transfer that into your deferred comp or your 457, but there are certain contribution limits as a result of that. Or worst case scenario is the city just pays you a check out on the comp time, and then you're taxed on that as normal ordinary income when you're receiving that paycheck. All right, so another review on leave conversions. We have two different options that we have for us for leave conversions, okay? And you can do them either annually, once a year, and you can do them or terminal leave balances, which is at retirement or when you separate from the city. So the amounts we can do annually would be up to 120 hours of vacation time. There are certain things in our media that speak to exactly how you can do this and the time frames and certain qualifications to it. But you can cash out about 120 hours worth of your vacation time per year, and then that money can go get sent from the city over to MERP for them to either convert it to ASUs for you into the pool trust side or into the individual account side, so you can continue to build the individual account up. So retirement or terminal leave separations is the same kind of thing functionally as the annual one, right? You can do vacation leave in this one, you can do sick leave in this one, and then if it applies to you like a battalion chief or a deputy chief, you can do management leave into the leave conversion part of it. And this is the bigger one that people try to use at the end of their career to say, hey, do I want a certain amount of money going to my deferred comp? Do I want a certain amount going to build up my MERP benefit, depending on how long you've had it and what you're looking like as far as expenses go? You may want to adjust some of that stuff and give yourself the ability to change some of those things based on what you want to do and based on what your financial obligations and stuff will be in retirement. So both the annual and the terminal leave balances for vacation, sick leave, things like that, and then in the annual ones that you could do up to 120 hours of vacation, both of them work functionally the same way as far as leave conversions. I'll put up that little actuarially adjusted table in there for what ASUs cost. But basically, the younger you are, the cheaper the ASUs are. And then the older you are, the more expensive that they are. And that's really just a function of the fact that MERP has less time to be able to invest that money. So they're going to be able to functionally pay you out less as a result of it if they have less time to invest it, or if they have more time, they can pay you out more as a result of it. All right, so let's look at some little specifics on a few different age groups and how much those ASUs actually cost if you were going to be converting some of those leave conversions for them. All right, so for the age for a 30-year-old person, an ASU costs $14.48. For a 40-year-old person, it costs $27.59. For a 50-year-old person, it costs $52.53. And then for a 55-year-old person, it costs $62.23. So again, during normal career contributions, where you're doing normally through your paycheck between you and the city, everything costs $25 per ASU. But those leave conversions work differently. They're actuarially adjusted by age because MERP has more or less time to be able to invest that money. All right, so we'll dive into an example here about different leave conversions for a $5,000 amount of money, and we'll do it based on those several different groups of ages on how many ASUs you're going to be earning through that same amount of money, depending on the age you are cashing it out for the ASUs. All right, so we're going to assume that all of these people, these different age people, have the same $5,000 amount of leave that they're going to cash out, and we're going to just convert them to the ASUs based on the age. Okay, so for a 30-year-old person, one ASU costs $14.48. So if we take $5,000 worth of leave and we divide it by $14.48 per ASU, it's going to earn about 345 ASUs for that 30-year-old person. Now we take the amount of ASUs they have and we multiply it by that 0.41, their conversion factor. So 345 times 0.41 equals $141 per month tax-free. So if they converted the money they put in there, that $5,000 into ASUs, they're going to get about $141 per month tax-free for a 30-year-old person. All right, for a 40-year-old person, so if we take the cost per ASU for them off that table, it's $27.59 per ASU. So we take 5,000, we divide it by $27.59, gives us 181 ASUs. And we take that, to get the monthly benefit, we take the 181 ASUs and we multiply it by the conversion factor of 0.41. That gives them a monthly benefit of $74 a month, tax-free. if they convert it to ASUs and use it for a monthly benefit in lifetime. All right, a 50-year-old person. So we got a 50-year-old person, costs them $52.53 per ASU, $5,008 converted, divided by the 5253 gives them 95 ASUs. Monthly benefit, we get take the 95, we multiply it by 0.41. So monthly benefit that they're going to get by converting those into a monthly benefit would be $39 a month tax-free for a 50-year-old. All right, age 55, cost per ASU is $62.23. If we take $5,000, we divide it by $62.23. That's going to give them 80 ASUs. The monthly benefit, we take that 80 ASUs and we multiply it by 0.41, and that equals about $33 a month tax-free that a 55-year-old would get if they cashed out $5,000 for ASUs. So we can see in some of these examples, the younger you are, it's dramatically more powerful for the amount of time that they have to use this money to convert over to a monthly benefit versus being a little older, you're having less time for them to invest it. So your benefit that you're going to get is going to be significantly less. Now, the examples we used were only $5,000. So that's a pretty small amount compared to like the vast majority of folks that have tens of thousands of dollars. So even though it doesn't seem like you're able to convert a lot, you don't get a whole lot of bang for your buck. If your monthly benefit is already starting out at $1,000 a month and you're trying to bump it up by maybe $200, $300, $400 a month, there's a few things you can do with these leave conversions to be able to do that. And if you have tens of thousands of dollars, well, it's going to be a lot more than just 20 or 30 bucks a month just for that $5,000 piece of it. So like I said before, the amount of time that they have to invest this is why the ASUs are either more expensive or cheaper depending on your age. So we're going to take a look at an example of somebody who's potentially going to be retiring with larger balances and going to have a lot more money to be able to convert to some of those ASUs and see what that'll do for them. All right, so we're going to take a firefighter with 300 hours of vacation leave, 480 hours of sick leave, and then we'll say they have 40 hours of management. Total amount is 820 hours. And let's assume their hourly rate is about $60 an hour. So we're going to convert their leave, and we have to split this up in a few different ways. Like I said before, our sick leave is calculated different than vacation and management leave. So we'll kind of split it up into two different sections. So for vacation and management leave, say they have 300 hours of vacation leave and they have 40 hours of management leave. Times the $60 an hour is going to be about $20,400. Now we're going to convert to sick leave because it converts slightly different. We don't pay 100% out for sick leave value. It's based on 0.01 per year of service. All right, so let's assume that this person has 30 years of service, and they had 480 hours of sick leave. We're going to take that 480 hours, multiply it by their $60 an hour. That gives them about $28,800 of sick leave value. Now, they only have 30 years of service, so we got to use that conversion payout factor because the city pays less than their amount that they would be getting normally if they just use the sick leave or converted it to service time. So we'll take that 28,000 and change, multiply it by the 0.30, and that's going to give them about $8,640. Now we take the total amount of MERP eligible leave. We say vacation and management leave was $20,400, and then the sick leave was $8,640. Total amount of leave conversion is $29,040. So we take the $29,040 and we're going to convert it to ASUs. So assuming that their conversion rate for them, for their age, is $52.53, we're going to take 29,000 and change divided by that 52 and change. It's going to give them about 553 ASUs. Now we convert the ASUs to their monthly benefit to figure out what that is. So we take the 553 ASUs times the 0.41, ends up equaling $226 a month. So looking at the two different examples between the small amounts that you would do if you're cashing out only $5,000 versus leave versus bumping it up to some of these more realistic, larger amounts of tens of thousands of dollars. The 30 or 40 or $50 a month, they're able to bump it up by the, annual, maybe annual leave conversions versus when they retired and they were able to cash out 20 or 30 or $40,000. Just as $20,000 or almost $30,000 that they were cashing out for the leave bumped up their monthly benefit by almost $230 a month, right? So it's not going to be the make it or break it thing for them. But if they're looking at, hey, I've got $1,000 a month and maybe my medical insurance is going to be $1,500. If I take an extra couple $100 a month that I can bump that up, that's one less thing that they're having to cover the cost of throughout retirement. So we'll look at a 4-step plan for leave conversion over the course of your career. So number one is if you're young, if you're in your 20s and 30s and you're financially in a good position and it looks like your amount of MERP benefit, your monthly benefit is not going to be quite what you need it to be, it'd be a great time for you to take advantage of some of those annual conversions. If you convert, up to the 120 hours annually and you're able to bump up, you get a real big bang for your buck and you're buying ASUs at like $7 or $10 an ASU, you're going to be able to bump up that benefit significantly in retirement. So it'll cost you a little bit now, but the benefit you're going to get in the end is going to be huge. So the second thing I would look at is avoid losing some of this leave to caps. There are some folks that I work with that are really good about saving a lot of their vacation leave, so much so that when they hit that 720 hour a year cap, the city stops giving them vacation leave. So if you look like you're getting close to some of those caps, either take some of that and cash it out and do it through your deferred comp, or cash some of that out and bump up some of those ASUs that you can do through MERP. So the third thing I would do is plan ahead for retirement. So look at what you're going to have in your benefit, and then look at your current balances there, and then make some adjustments. If you have some vacation leave or sick leave or management leave, kind of make sure that you have those balances. Either I'm going to strategically build some of those things back up and use comp time now so I can have large balances in the end to be able to cash out. Or if you're at the spot where you're, hey, I'm maxed out, I don't need to use sick leave for conversion, or to convert for any more PERS time, but I want to be able to bump this up for MERP, maybe use some of it for that, or cash out some of these different leaves and put more of it into your 457 to sort of bump some of that stuff up as things go on. But try to keep an eye on those leaves and track that for the last 5 to 10 year period of your career, so that you can have either more money in there to draw from to be able to put into it, or maybe you'd be able to capture some of that leave during your career, so that you're not going out with too much money to where you can't even convert most of it or put some of it in your 457. So the fourth thing I would encourage you to do is pair these leave conversions that we're talking about in this episode with the other pieces of this, either through the pool trust or the individual account, and find out exactly what your specific circumstances are. If your wife has lifetime medical and you don't need any of these things, you could use MERP in a more strategic way and say, hey, I'm going to keep the amount of my lifetime benefit at a lower portion, but maybe I'm going to plan to use that for long-term care when I'm older. So leave conversions are confusing. There is a lot of nuances to the math. Some of this stuff gets a little confusing for us, but it is extremely powerful on what it can do for you. If you're somebody who plans ahead and you can look at how much you want to have in your benefit, and you can do some of these leave conversions earlier to be able to put yourself sort of in that sweet spot to be able to cover everything and then some for all your medical expenses, you can be so much further ahead than most folks. Medical expenses tend to be the most expensive thing in retirement, short of your mortgage, and that cost continues to increase, and your 2% COLA that you get through CalPERS really doesn't keep up with it. So having a little understanding of some of this math stuff, how the conversion factors work, what the ASUs cost, how all that stuff works, is going to put you in a much better place to be able to kind of figure out exactly what you're looking for in retirement. And maybe you don't have somebody in your local that is as dialed in on this kind of stuff. It allows you to sort of take the reins yourself and figure out exactly what you need to do for your specific circumstance. Thanks for joining me on Finance for Firefighters. Same as always, thumbs up if you like it, comments below. Hope you guys have a good shift. I'll see you in the next one.